Hi, good evening. Thanks for coming for this event. This, as Prachi said, is a continuation of our FoundrPwr series. I'm very glad to welcome Vijay Rayapati. He's the founder CEO of Atomicwork. He really doesn't need any introduction, but for the sake of formality, I'll just...
Please don't say that, especially in front of KK.
Just for the sake of formality, I'm going to go ahead with it. Atomicwork really hit the news early this year when they secured $25 million in Series A funding from marquee global investors such as Mela Ventures, Battery Ventures, Peak 15, along with a host of other well-known investors participating in the round. Since the inception in 2022, they've set a scorching pace of growth. We've been following it. Prior to Atomicwork, Vijay was with Nutanix. He came to Nutanix as part of the acquisition of his own company, Minjar Cloud Solutions by Nutanix. During the time he was in Nutanix, he grew his business unit to I think well over $100 million in revenue. So clearly he achieved a lot of scale once he's within Nutanix selling his company. As Prachi mentioned, the focus of the discussion is how do you drive predictability and outcomes from sales motion? Because this is one of the most common challenges we believe our entrepreneurs face, especially in enterprise B2B business models. So Vijay is known in the ecosystem to be a very enthusiastic sales evangelist and practitioner. So we really love to tap into his point of view in this subject. So I'll start the session with a few questions, and as Prachi said, we'll open up to the floor for questions. What I'll do is I'll segment in these two parts. First, we'll probably delve a little bit into his own specific experiences, particularly in B2B sales. And later, we will probably make it a little bit more generic to try and understand what founders in general must do in terms of setting up a playbook, when they do that, etc. So firstly, Vijay, thanks a lot once again. We'll take a step back. Before Minjar, you were in core tech roles. So one of the questions we sort of ask, and founders ask, how do we transition from tech roles to becoming a CEO? And how did that shift happen in your case? And what were the kind of mindset challenges you might have encountered to overcome, if any?
Yeah, so I'm not really a sales expert. I'm mostly an engineer who studied computer science. And only in Minjar and Atomicwork, I took a CEO role. But prior to that, mostly I was a CTO and architect and engineer. I do believe, there is quite a bit of engineering principles we can apply in sales. But sales is also a little bit of art. Just like, building a good product is also a little bit of art. It's not just about tech. I think, especially today, irrespective of whether you studied computer science or MBA or whatever degree, I think the build is getting very easier thanks to AI. When build gets easier, distribution gets harder. If build was harder, then distribution is easier, right? So the equation only changes. So I would highly encourage everyone to learn what it takes to sell. Even if you're an engineer, if you want to hire an engineer, we need to sell, we need to tell a story. If you want to raise money, we need to tell a story. And if you want to create partnerships, we need to find, and tell stories. I think engineers can tell. We are a little bit shy, and I used to be like that. When KK, does not get enough credit, I think 17, 18 years ago in Bangalore, the concept of startup was very small. And he was a guy along with Sharad encouraging people to think of creating product companies, right? I think the first product summit was done in 2008, right, KK? Yeah, 2008. And they were expecting, will 200, 300, 400 people turn up or not? But, almost close to 1,000 people turned up. I think we have come a long way, since then. That time we used to think, how do we build products, right? So they were literally teaching us how to think of creating a product. I'm so happy now, at least we talk about sales because we all have gotten really good at building products. I think what helped me personally was, I think getting out. As an engineer, we are mostly at the desk and we only talk to people that we meet very often, right, who are our colleagues and stuff. So I started actually, getting out of that zone to go meet people, right? And I was, I got a little bit old now, but I used to be very young. And I still remember KK once telling me that, have patience, you will win. I think in sales also like that, right? A lot of engineers give up when they try to sell because you always face rejection and you think you're not good at it. I think have patience, and practice. I think those two things, can be remarkable things.
But if it does not come naturally to you as into an entrepreneur, I didn't mean specifically to you, how does one grow into the role besides having patience and meeting people?
Yeah. I think, look, as engineers, we are really good at learning. I would highly encourage to learn. Sales is, learn it all, right? Sales is very little about know it all. It's mostly about learn it all. I think learn. I did the usual things, right? What do engineers do? Go buy books, read how to be a good salesman. How to influence friends. And win deals and whatnot. But I think reality I'll basically tell is most of us, I think all the greatest knowledge is there in the books, but we never actually practice it because humans, at least my perception is, I could be wrong. I think we are all experiential learning driven. Okay. If you don't practice, it does not matter how many events you attend like this, how many books you read, how many podcasts you watch, even it applies to me as well, right? So that's why I basically said practice is very important. If you don't practice, I think we don't then imbibe that experiential learning. If you don't have it, then you don't get better at it, right? So I would highly encourage to practice pitch, and pitching to a friend, pitching to a colleague and pitching to a, fellow entrepreneur. Sometimes we shy away because we think, I think in our culture, right, selling is considered to be bad, especially in Indian culture, right? We think you should be quiet, you should not talk. And, generally that's how, from school, they'll say, shh, like, don't make noise, just sit, right? Don't ask questions. I think sales is just getting to know people, right? I think there was a time where we could just sell products. Now there are so many products in every category. I think we need to get to know people. I think build relationships. If we can invest in people and relationships, I think our deals will happen. I think a lot of us obviously have pressure. So we are deal obsessed instead of people obsessed. We are automation obsessed instead of relationship obsessed, right? I would say do the opposite of everybody else is doing, right? If everybody is spamming people, you don't spam people,
Yeah, I remember you telling us this in our office. You talked about the need to build relationships. I think you're reiterating that point here, having no agenda discussions and understanding the geography before selling. Can you say some specific pointers as to how you went about this?
Yeah, even in Minjar, so we were basically started that company in 2012, late 2012, and we wanted to basically build a cloud management software because cloud was taking off. We thought, there must be a better software to manage it because now people are using multiple clouds, etc. So that was a little easier for me because the buyer was mostly CTO, right? And I was a CTO, and people had a little bit respect for a CTO selling, and I used to always walk into a meeting and tell people that, hey, I'm not a salesperson. I used to be a CTO. This is the first time I'm a CEO, right? So people are like, hey, don't worry, it's okay, right? So sometimes I think you need to get comfortable when you walk into the discussion. It could be anything. It could be sports. It could be about weather. That time it was about me being a CTO for me. But based on when you walk in, I think the first few minutes, you need to feel very comfortable. And then you need to make the other person feel a little bit comfortable so that, then the conversation can go forward, right? A lot of times we get terrified of these things because either we are not very comfortable or we walk into a room, then we don't make the other person comfortable. I think typical engineer things is we get to the product, right? So one thing, I think it was Sharad Sharma, iSpirit, who told me, focus on the person, not the product, right? I think that's such a good insight. Focus on the person, right? Don't get to product. I think as engineers and founders, we tend to get to product very, very quickly. So I think that's a first big change. I think it took some time for me to get to. These days, I think last 5-10 minutes of the hour is when I really get to the product. So I mostly talk about the person or the place, or sometimes even politics, and because in US now everybody is curious about politics. In India, we used to be very curious about politics. I think we are talking less about politics now here, but they are talking more about politics. I think the last 10-15 minutes is where you really want to talk about that. Second is, I think build a relationship. I think this is something that I'm learning again and again. I think we have become a little bit transactional as people, but I think all good things. I don't know how many of you have seen Musk sending a message to Larry Ellison saying, "Hey, I'm buying Twitter. How much do you want to invest? Do you want to invest?" The other person, Larry responds and says, "Yeah, I want to invest." And then he says, "Okay, how much?" And then this person is asking, "Can I do $1 billion or so?" And then this guy says, "No, do $2 billion." So it's like, I think relationships go a long way. I would say invest time in them. Just like taking products, building products takes time. I think building relationships takes time. I think build relationships. If you can take away one thing, I'll basically say, be obsessed about building good relationships.
And if you're looking at some of the hard stuff like building a sales playbook, etc., when does that come into the equation? You are the second-time founder after Minjar, so you would have revised your playbook, I'm pretty sure, along the way. What are the things that still stand? What are the things you've had to discard coming from Minjar into Atomicwork?
Yeah, I think so. In Minjar, we were very developer-centric product, right? So the CTOs and the engineers use the product, and it's very API-driven. It's not UI-driven. It's more they're already writing some automation. Then they call the APIs of the product, and then they use the reports of the product, right? But in Atomicwork, it's completely opposite. It's more like changing your business. It's like running your business faster. Making your IT smarter. The consumer is not really through API. The consumer, there are engineers who consume it, but mostly non-engineers consume it. I think one of the things that we basically have done is, tell people, especially in early days, right? Early days, our product will not be complete, right? I think one thing I think engineers don't do naturally, but maybe MBAs do, no offense to them, which is they oversell the product, right? So engineers try to generally undersell the product, but I think there is a fine line between both of them, right? So if you meet a CIO, like in my case, the buyer is a CIO. That person is an experienced person, right? So 25, 30, 40 years he's been there. And if you go tell him, I have the best product, I have the magical product, I have the AI, look, you're probably 4,000th person pitching to him, right? So I think you need to basically go and say that, look, I really like your experience, right? This is how I used to start my conversations. It's fantastic to see you being in IT for 30 years. You have seen so many changes, right? From whatever client server to web to mobile to cloud to now AI. I'm sure you have spoken to hundreds of vendors and products and people. All I want to basically tell you is if you give us an opportunity, right, we will work with you as a partner, right? I'm not here to sell the product and run away, okay? I think people like that because everybody knows, right? However good we think our product is as an engineer, as a founder, and the reality is when we put it in the real world, there is so many things, right? So if you can set the context that you are there to work with them as a partner, and while you have worked hard to do a good job, but if there are issues, you will respond faster. And one of the things I do, even if my other people go get a deal, I always go to LinkedIn and ping the CIO and say, hey, I know my team is talking to you guys. Here is my phone number, and if you guys need help, ping me, right? And thank you for the opportunity, etc. I think being nice and also framing it to especially experienced people. If you're trying to sell to a job role where people are young and they have not bought, maybe overpitch the product. I don't know. But if you're pitching to engineers, don't pitch that everything is perfect, right? Because they don't. I mean, every engineer knows that things won't be perfect. And if you're pitching and selling to a very experienced person, don't overpitch. It's okay to underpitch, but be confident, right? So I think they are different. A lot of people think over pitching means I'm pitching confidently. No, so what it means is, hey, we are really spending time trying to understand this problem, and we have created a good solution, and we are working hard to make this thing better. That's where confidence should come in. But when you are asking for an opportunity, always pitch it as a partnership, especially in the early days. Don't say I have a product, it's beautiful, it's flawless, it works for you. Experienced people can see through. They think either you have not sold, so they'll give you a benefit of doubt, or they think you're really stupid, right? Yeah.
Sure. Maybe we can look at some specific examples in your selling experiences over the years as to how you converted a customer who might have been so resistant and said a no to you, or with whom you didn't get traction initially. How do you sort of convert that into a victory?
So I think I'll tell a story in Minjar. So I went and met this CTO, and he really liked, he was very nice, he was very polite, had all the conversation. In the end, he said, Vijay, I cannot give my business to you. And I was like, why? He said, you are too young. We are a real business, right? The problem with young people is, they move really fast. And, because if I put your system, for my infrastructure, and if you break, it will cause a lot of impact, right? That was the first time, I wish to God that I should get some white hair. These days, I pray to God that, I have too much white hair at like 41, so I should have less. But eventually, he's an Indian gentleman. He did not give me business, but after 6 months, they tried somebody. I think things didn't go well, and he did ping me. Not to give an opportunity, right? The thing what we did was, I think I learned that, especially if you go sell to enterprises, dress up well, take probably the oldest colleague in your company, right? Not the youngest one. We luckily hired this guy called Raj. He was at Cisco for quite some time to join our team. So me and Raj, went and met him a couple of times, even though the business is not there, just to take the ideas, right? So basically saying, hey, okay, how are you guys doing the on-prem side of things, right? While we are doing public cloud side of things, right? Is automation more important, or security configuration management more important, right? So I think he really liked that engagement. A lot of times what happens is when people say no, we think, okay, there is no deal, we just move on, right? There's a natural tendency, right? There is nothing wrong. If your business is, on fire, the only thing you don't have is time. But if you don't have anyone, the only thing you have is time, right? So depending on which side you are, I think engage, always share updates to people. People do come back and give. Even in Atomicwork, like we did not hire salespeople initially. Last year when we started commercializing it, we sold, to one very experienced CIO called Chad Goshen in Seattle. And it's a small deal. And I was telling him, hey, Chad, I want to come and meet you. And he's like, why do you want to spend so much money to come from Bay to Seattle to meet me? It's okay. And I'm like, no, I want to come and meet. And then I meet him. And then we had a lunch, and I was walking out, and Chad basically said, Vijay, you should hire a sales guy. And I was like, why? He said, I told your team, your product is expensive. The first thing your guy did was drop the price, right? He didn't even say, hey, why do you think we are expensive, right? It's okay to ask. Is it because you think competition is cheap, or you saw somebody else who actually gave? So the really good advice he gave me was, get a sales guy, right? Because your guy did not even ask, because he's an engineer, right? He's a solution engineer. The only thing he thinks is, we don't have even a single customer, so let me get a customer, right? So I think listening, that's another thing I'll tell you. As people, we spend a lot of time listening. to people, especially other founders, etc. But it's useful, but it's not also mostly not useful. I think you should listen a lot more to your prospects and customers. That's a compounding value. If you listen to founder like me, I'll come and tell a good story, you will feel good, but there is very little value. So don't waste time attending events and talking to other founders, etc. You will learn something, but I think spend a lot of time with. If you have time, waste all your time with your prospects and customers, right? I think we will learn a lot. I think the other thing I'll basically tell you from a experience standpoint is I think we stopped spending time with customers, prospects, right? We think we know everything. We build the product. Now it's even worse. We just ask AI. It's like what to do, what to build, and we just look at data. And sometimes we forget that it's a people, right? End of the day, software is being built by people, for people, used by people, purchased by people, right? So I would highly encourage you to waste all your time with the prospects, right? And it's okay, if people say, I don't want to buy, just hear the patterns. Are they saying because they think you are a very small company, or you are not a viable company because they're a big business, you're not funded, they're not sure you will be in a business or not? Are they worried about you don't have integrations? Or they think they already have a big incumbent on which they spend a lot of money? I think listen carefully to prospects and customers more than listening to other founders.
Yes, so Vijay, I think the founder will have to take the primary responsibility of sales leadership in the initial years. But there are two questions here. One, when does he start to delegate? When does he start to build a sales structure? And second, this is something that does the founder have to be in the big markets? Like for instance, if the US is going to give you 70% of your revenues, does he necessarily have to relocate, move there, at least spend a lot of time there? So the timing, I think we agree the founder has to go there eventually, but does he have to do that after he gets his 2-3 initial beachhead customers, lighthouse customers, etc.? So two real questions is, how does one sort of say that let me set a sales structure and start to delegate? When does that point come? And second, how do you make the decision of when to move? I don't think you can have an alternative that can drive sales there from being here.
So I think there are like multiple questions in it. First thing is, should founder do sales? Yes, if you're a founder CEO, your first job is to sell. Okay. Sell the story to hire people, sell to investors so that you can attract capital, go sell to early customers. I think first $1 million, I strongly believe, should be founder led. Highly encourage you. So never, if you're ever in a situation where you feel like you built a product, but you don't have a customer, all you need is some money and you get a sales guy who will sell. If you cannot sell your, your creation, your baby, right? Nobody else can sell, right? It's like, if we want good muscle, we need to lift the weights. Okay. Because if we don't know how to lift the weight, then it's very hard, right? Because even early sales people look to the founder to learn how to pitch, how to position, how to, counter position against the competition, right? And what is prospect listening to, not listening to. But at the same time, it'll also tell you that, in Minjar, I used to think I'm a really good sales guy. Okay. Because whenever I went, we mostly closed the deals. Okay. But we had a sales people, couple of them, they always used to say you come and stuff. So I used to think, okay, I'm really good sales guy and all. But once somebody, busted my belief saying prospects actually give deals when founders show up. Because if a founder makes a commit, let's say, saying, yeah, we will deliver, we will add this report, we will add this API, we'll implement this module. The entire company, the company could be 5 people, 10 people, or 50 people, is behind that commitment. But when a sales guy goes and makes a commitment saying we will do it, even a customer knows, right? He's a sales guy, so he will not have any influence, right? So never assume that we are better than salespeople, right? I actually made that assumption for a period thinking, okay, I'm a really smart engineer, now I'm a really smart sales guy, because whenever I go, I close the deals. But the reality I learned was, actually I asked once this guy, who used to be head of infrastructure at Samsung in Singapore, Gary, his name was, and he was like, I mean, it took us so long, but when I went, they said, okay, we will do the deal and all. Then I asked Gary, like, why we spent so much time? He said, I wanted commitment from you, not from a sales guy, right? So that's when I kind of learned why it's important for founders to show up, especially for the first million. It's about, you learn so much about market, your target segment, etc. I think 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, it need not be, founder-led sales. It could be founder-supported sales. But if you get past the 10, etc., then get out of that. Don't go and try to engineer, right? I think sales is a specialist job. We should leave it to people when there is a motion, when there is a playbook, when there is a repeatability. But the first million, first 2, 3 million, even first 5 million, 10 million, I think founders should be involved. Even after that, you should always talk to biggest customers, smallest customers, mid customers, right? Founders only have 3 customers, the real customers who are paying dollars. Then there are these internal customers who is doing the work. And then there is, the shareholders, stakeholders, and partners, who are very key constituent of customers, right? Our time is to spend time among, these 3 as much as possible. Sometime, you might spend more time with your investors because you're fundraising. But there are a lot of times, quarter end, you might be spending more with customers. But, you always have to, especially if you're a founder and CEO, you have 3 customer segments, and stay really, really focused on, on them. On this question of should you be in India, should you go to US, where you are, it's very clear, depending on for whom you are building software. It's like that, right? If you are building software, let's say for enterprise in India, then go spend time with them. But if you say, hey, I'm building software for global enterprises, right? Then, US is a big market, it's a homogeneous market, right? One language, one currency, more or less one contract law, even though jurisdiction, might change. It's a huge leverage, right? In Minjar, the biggest mistake we did was first few years we sold in India, next few years we sold in Asia Pac, ASEAN, then we went to US, right? This time we said, okay, no India, no Asia, let's just go to US. Simply because it's the largest economy and it's a low context culture. So people will tell you the things on your face, right? If they are not planning to buy, they'll say, hey, I'm not planning to buy. In India and all, we try to be polite. So people do POC after POC, longer POCs. They just don't want to say no. We just like to be nice, right? We don't want to be direct because we are a high context culture, right? In a high context culture, groupthink matters. We don't want to hurt sentiments of the people, and etc. But in a low context culture, people will be very direct, right? I think early days operate in a low context culture, okay? Where people will tell you the fact on your face. Your product is not good, they should tell you, the product is not good. If you're a first-time founder, use the network to, find few opportunities. But if you're a, experienced founder, don't use the network, right? Because if you go sell in the network, then the team will not learn. One of the things we did at Atomicwork is the first 10 customers we said, we should sell to strangers because then we need to learn. Otherwise, what happens is sometimes you have a network, you end up selling in the network, you get to 1, 2, 3, 5 million, and then you will not be able to grow, right? Because nobody learned, right? As a founder, if you keep feeding, then even your early sales team will not also learn, right? So US is a big market for software. It's the largest economy. I would highly encourage. And I also strongly believe software does not matter in an economy where per capita GDP is less than $40,000. Okay, it just does not matter, right? That's why we put a boom barrier in, India, even in our communities, then put a security guy, because the boom barrier costs like 2.5 lakhs to operate in a year. The security guy also costs, because the cost of labor is low. When that means our time is less important than our money. Okay, so in India, people are willing to trade their time for money because they're not very productive, right? So there are 2,000 hours, unless it's a $20 per hour. Actually, software automation efficiency does not matter much. Okay. Would India get there? Yeah, it will get there. I mean, India as a whole might be, poor from per capita GDP, but there are a lot of cities where we are already at $8,000-9,000 GDP, right? So if you look at Bangalore, we are at $8,000-9,000 GDP, which is almost equivalent to China's average GDP. But maybe in 10-20 years, we will get there. But it's very hard. And, look, dollar is $90, rupees. So go make in dollars. I mean, unless you are building, and even if you are very passionate about helping the country, you want to, help small businesses, etc. But you have to remember, you can only help when you are around, if you survive. Okay, but if you don't build a big business, etc., it just does not matter what your mission is, right? So you have to survive to see the next day. So focus on building the business, and then employ a lot of people, in India, and, even sell eventually in India, etc. But initially you have to build a business, right? Otherwise, like, your company will not be around. So your mission will not matter, right? So we only remember successful stories, right? We will not remember, like, all the failed ones.
So if the founder has to spend 6 to 9 months in the US, I just use 6 to 9 months just as a proxy for a lot of time in a year in the US or in this target market, so be it.
I think you can't spend 6 to 9 months on B1, B2, so that's you'll get deported. So don't do that. But try to spend at least 3 to 5 months, right? So especially when you are building, spend time. When you are initially selling, spend time, and make it like a rhythm. So either go 2 weeks every month, right? Or go for like 4-5 weeks in a quarter. So have a rhythm. I think the first thing you should do, especially if you're trying to build, is go spend time. I think look, Bangalore has gotten so good. I mean, like, I came to Bangalore in 2005, and I think I went to IMB that first weekend. You guys won't believe, the session was, some prof I forgot. One of my roommate, he took me saying, there is some event happening. They said, it's been 10 years since India got liberalized, amazing opportunities. All of you can start, businesses, and all. And today we tell the same story, right? It's been 20 years. Of course, a lot of good things have happened. But if you really, really want to build a software company, okay, then you need to focus on the biggest pond where you can go fish, not the smallest pond where you hope you can catch, whale or a shark, right? So I would highly encourage people to travel, right? Because a lot of us also don't have cultural exposure, right? So you cannot build a relationship, if you don't understand their context. So traveling helps a lot, meeting people. The second thing, on Zoom, what happens is we get to the business on Teams or Zoom, and we get on a call with anyone. We just say, hey, thank you, and we just get to the business, we end it. But even if you meet somebody for 15 minutes for coffee, or like 1 hour for lunch, if you're lucky, even for a dinner, you get to learn so much, lot more about it. They will even tell you if they're planning to change the job, and they will tell you whether there is a deal or not, whether there are budget issues. People are generally nice, right? Most of us are very nice people. We are not bad people, right? And that's actually true. I asked, I don't know if KK remembers, like, I mean, he used to be such a nice guy. He's still very nice. But I felt when I was very young, I asked him, how can you be so nice, right? How can you be CEO? You know what he said? He said, Vijay, even nice guys can win. It might take slightly longer. But if you're a nice and win, a lot of people celebrate. But if you're an asshole and win, everybody will think he's an asshole. It does not matter, right? So I think generally most of us are nice people. At core, humans are very nice people, and we share a lot more information, in a close context versus in a transactional context. So in the early days, building that context about your problem, your prospect, your target market, target segment is important. Unless you absolutely can't afford to travel for whatever reasons, you don't have visa, etc. I would highly encourage. The first thing you should do if you are thinking of B2B SaaS is apply for B1, B2. Okay. And the next thing you should do is make a trip, right? Go stay with friends. I think most of us have, and it's really worth it. Okay. And it's absolutely worth it.
Before I just open the floor up, one question I had on coaching. do founders, or did you specifically seek out coaching for improving your sales ability? Maybe you're a natural level, but this is something that you encourage.
I think, we think, actually, so the way I basically think is a lot of us are shy. Okay, especially if you're engineers, we are very shy. We are very shy to ask for help because we think that's a judgment on our ability, right? Because, I mean, at least now it is good because you can ask AI, it will not judge you. But traditionally, right, even when I used to work, I work for this company called Trilogy, and they used to hire really good engineers. But the challenge is if you ask another engineer for a help, they think then you are like a, really, really bad, right? Sometimes, these things happen. So I think in our culture, we think asking for help, seeking help means it's not good, right? But there are like a lot of cultures where people asking for help is not bad thing. I think the only way we can get better is knowing what is our circle of competence, right? I might be really good with designing a backend API, but maybe I don't know how to write a good JavaScript. So it's okay to seek help. Similarly, I might be really good at pitching, but I'm not really good at making a presentation. I think seek help. I think one thing I will basically tell is early stage founders, all of us, right, are like beggars. So we should not be afraid of asking for help. Okay. And if you can't seek help, then don't take up the CEO role. Okay. Let one more co-founder, and then don't say I started the company, but I will not ask anyone for help, because the more we think we know, the less we realize we know, right? I always ask for help for two reasons. One is when you ask for help, people, whether they help you or not, they will remember you. Okay. And second thing is asking for help, makes you think, what should I ask, right? And why I should ask, so your brain also, subconsciously start processing. I think none of us know it all, right? I mean, especially, if you are 30s, 40s also, we will not know everything. But we can learn it all. The only way to learn it all is to seek help. And learn, learn through videos, learn through books, but meet people and learn. And most people are good. Generally, I'll tell you, most people are very good. That's been my experience. Did people not cheat you or disappoint you or do those bad things? Yeah, do it. But like a lot of people also helped us, right? A lot of people have helped us. Even in like Minjar, so many people helped us, right? Even the entire AWS team, was big supporters of us, right? Simply because we used to seek help, I think asking for help is not bad, and you should seek help. But seeking help does not also mean second thing. One thing I see founders doing is, they create a pitch deck. Somebody says, hey, you need to improve it. Then they say, can you work with me to improve it? So you can't also delegate your job to somebody else, right? It's not their job, right? So you need to, I'll give you a very practical example. I was last year, we wanted to raise money, and I wanted to pitch to Vinod Khosla. And so what I did was, go watch his video on how founders should pitch, right? Watch multiple times. And during the presentation, I did tell him, and to his credit, he said, despite that you made font sizes small, I'm old and I can't read, So I think it's important to know and learn, and don't delegate it, because if you delegate it, you'll never really get good at it, right?
Sure. So I'll open the floor up to the audience. Questions?
I think the only SaaS you can do from India without being in US is this micro SaaS, or what I call tiny SaaS, right? But look, digital has become very expensive for sure. So you need to basically think of a different distribution channel. And one of the distribution channels these days people are doing is building their own audience, right? Whether you build that audience through podcast or some blog or some Twitter or TikTok or Insta, depending on what you are doing. I think building and owning audience is important, that organic thing. Otherwise, it becomes very expensive. But I think we have a lot of great examples, including Zoho to Freshworks, where my co-founders also came from. Doing SMB SaaS from India to US is possible, not being in US. But the thing you have to acknowledge is the cost per click has gone through the roof. Okay. The second thing is, earlier, you could have feature differentiation and sell the product, especially in SMB segment. I think these days people are looking at experience, right? And people are looking at brand. It's very hard for small companies to build brand because you're a small company, you can't build brand, right? You don't have resources to, but you need to build some personal brand, and the way to basically do that is, create. Like one of the thing at Atomicwork we basically do is this podcast called Atomic Conversations, right? And I was not really good at doing podcasts, but the first few things I asked my head of marketing side to do it. But off late I started doing it, and the reason is, and then you tag those people, and some of them are kind enough to share, and it spreads, and eventually you tell people, okay, this person is on it, please come. So I think you need to basically figure out a distribution channel for yourself. If you can figure that out, I think you can do it. But if you don't figure that out, if you want to follow the playbook, which is I will run digital ads, I will drive traffic through Google clicks, etc. I think it's very, very expensive to do tiny and micro SaaS from India, because cost per clicks have gone up. Like even now, when I was doing Minjar, RDS backup software, which is a high intent keyword, used to be 50 cents to $1, right? Now, some random, like no intent keyword is like going at $50, right? So that's the challenge,
In the 1 to 5 stage, right? When we are looking to expand into the global market, let's say US or Europe, the one easier route is to target the mid market, because the resistance is a little lower in that market. But obviously, we want to grow into the enterprise. So, do you suggest we still be patient, start with the enterprise market so that we get there, or we start with the mid market and go there?
Yes. So, great question. Even I'm, constantly thinking about it. I think, enterprise. Basically, when we say enterprise, there are like 4 types of enterprises, right? There are these very large enterprises, which are like Fortune 500 companies. Then there are these large enterprises, which are global 5,000 companies, right? Then there are these enterprises, which are another, 5,000 companies also. Then you have commercial enterprises, which are in G20K. If your product is not fully baked, right, you can take 2 approaches. One approach you can take is you go to a large enterprise or very large enterprise, find design partners, work with them for a year or so to fully bake the product. Okay. And then you try to go and, rinse and repeat. It's not a bad strategy, but the reality is, look, getting them as a design partner is in your favor. What do they get? They are wasting time, right? So unless you have, you can find people who are willing to design partner with you, and then design partner, and then you have a really, really good product, tank on your side, where you're not custom building that software for one customer, one use case, etc. Design partnerships with very large enterprises is very hard. Okay, so I would highly encourage to start with commercial enterprise or new enterprise. Okay, new enterprise means the company started 4 or 5 years ago, but because of rapid growth, they have grown to a few thousand people. You might have a software in accounting for them, or CRM for them, whatever, IT for them, or HR for them. I think look at commercial enterprise or new enterprise, because they have an incentive, because they want a new software. They don't want very old software. That's their DNA. But if you want to go to very large enterprise, I think the only way to break in is through design partnerships. And sometimes, they are very willing to be design partners, but you have to find a champion. He has to have a circle of influence, because in big companies, irrespective of the title, the circle of influence is very limited, right? And they have like 10,000 things going on. You are one of those 10,000 things, so you will not be at priority and stuff. And So if I'm, we intentionally choose that we'll go to the new enterprise or modern enterprise first, and then we'll get to the large enterprise and then very large enterprise.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, I've heard that generally going up is very, very tough. I mean, there are few firms that have made the transition from micro to SMB to mid-market to enterprise, but generally the journey up is far, far tougher.
So, yeah, I think the way to basically think about is if you start in SMB, it will take 10 years for you to get to mid-market. If you start in mid-market, it will take 10 years for you to get to large enterprise. If you start in large enterprise, it will take 10 years for you to get to very large enterprise, right? So if your intent is to get to very large enterprise, at least start with large enterprise. If your intent is to get to large enterprise, start with mid-market. But if you start with SMB, but your ultimate goal is to get to very large enterprise, then it's a 40-year journey. We may not be around, right? So yeah.
Hey, Vijay.
Hey.
So you spoke about stranger MRR, right? And related to the point he asked, finding design customers. Could you share any personal stories of how you got your first 10 customers in US? First 5 maybe.
I think, see, everybody is spamming each other, right? We are spamming through email, we are spamming through ads, we are like just retargeting, and I know you visited my website, all that nonsense, right? But I think one of the thing I genuinely feel is whenever you do an outreach, LinkedIn is how we mostly landed our first 10 folks, but whenever you connect with people, never write, this growth hack posts, which is like send, okay, why, what, how, and then send that entire message to them, etc. Even like, okay, here is the thing, right? If you compliment people, they tend to like you. Okay. But do a genuine compliment, don't do like, the superficial level thing, right? So that's one thing that I use to reach out and connect. Look, I'll also frankly tell you, when we started Atomicwork, I think December 2023 is when we launched our alpha. In October is when we came up with alpha, but then alpha was not ready, right? And then December is when we thought alpha was ready. And my solution engineer, Vijay, his name is also, he did one demo. And both the IT people came and checked my LinkedIn profile. Okay. Actually, I never bought LinkedIn premium subscription. So December, I think LinkedIn guys were running these offers, like 80% offer, etc. I think just like 1-2 days before, for some random reason, I clicked and I said, okay, fine, I'll subscribe, right? Until then, I never actually bought a LinkedIn subscription, premium one. Then it said, okay, these 2 people visited my profile. Then I saw 0 common connections. Then after a week or so, just before Christmas, they were doing, one more page. Then I saw that person also came and visited my profile. Okay. Then I realized, okay, there is no common connection, and I thought, okay. And then I basically, one thought that hit my head was, man, if a head of IT or an IT manager or a CIO comes and visits my profile and they don't see even one common connection, they think we are irrelevant people for their network, right? So I started basically gave this goal that, look, I have to build thousands of people as connections, right? So every week I'm actually a glorified SDR. Okay. So, connect with people. And now also I'll tell you honestly, despite all this work over last 2 years, there sometimes people visit, I hardly have 2-3 connections, with people, right? We think we are connected to the world, but most of the world is not connected to us, so I would highly encourage you to reach out to people, genuinely engage, right? Don't spam, I think the best growth hack I will tell you is, if you spam, people will block you, they will not read, and etc. Don't do any, I think especially even if you're selling at, assuming more than $10,000-$20,000 ACV, right? I think genuinely try to reach out to people saying, hey, I'm solving this problem. I know you complained about this. I would love for you to give me 10 minutes to do. Sometimes, people don't respond. Like what I used to do is I used to tell them, If you give me feedback, I will donate to charity of your choice. Okay, I'll donate $200 to charity of your choice, right? Even I have done this even in Minjar. Even now, I mean, sometimes, I want to meet somebody, who is very accomplished, and they have I'm nobody. Like, why should they waste their time, right? Sometimes I even tell them I will donate $2,000 of, to charity of your choice, right? And people are generally nice. Even if you tell them, if you tell a very rich person, I'll give you $1,000, it does not matter to them. But if you tell them, I'll give $1,000 to charity, they'll give you the time, But don't make this into a LinkedIn post and say, this is how growth hacking. Then if all of us start doing, then it's like a useless thing, right? So I think we need to basically find these very subtle things. Okay. Instead of saying, I'll give you a gift card, if a customer churns out from your product, and instead of saying, if you give me feedback, I'll give you a $100 gift card, they have no reason to give you genuine feedback. But if you tell them, if you give me feedback, I'll donate like a $200 to charity of your choice, right? People do genuinely give feedback, I would highly encourage you to find those things, right? Sometimes, people, I think there is a lot of good data about people, right? Sometimes you even donate upfront, then tell them that, hey, I know you like, supporting, the street animals, so I have donated to this organization, and I would be grateful if you can give me 15 minutes to, learn, right? So I think genuine thing to connect. Don't say, thank you for the connect. Here is my product. Here is my brochure. Here is my URL. And we are running a discount buy. If the first introduction has to be a little bit memorable. Okay. That's all I would basically say with anyone, right? First introduction has to be very memorable, right? I mean, I used to go to this NASCOM conferences, but my signature was people used to dress up, right? And I used to go in slippers. Okay. Then this author, Rashmi Bansal, she wrote like a bunch of books. Once she wrote an article about how she really felt, the startup ecosystem is seeding because he saw a guy in a shorts with slippers, because then people will notice you, right? Even now, our branding is purple. I mean, when I go to parties, I always wear like this really bright purple. Like in the party, like you can literally say, who is the guy, right? So sometimes you have to find like a little bit of those things, just don't be another regular, then people will not remember you and notice, okay? And genuinely, I'm telling you, even today, most of us are good people, okay? And people want to help other people. As long as you don't waste their time, don't spam them, and don't come across as opportunistic, right? I think if we can do that, I think we will find. People refer. Sometimes people say, hey, there is no way I'm replacing this large software with Atomicwork. But then I tell them, look, I will do the same if I'm in your position, right? Because the risk of change is so high for a business. And, but, I'm sure you have friends who are in smaller organizations, right? If anybody asks you for, what's a new way of doing IT, then refer Atomicwork, right? I think also we have to give like hooks to people. Otherwise they will not remember. If they say, hey, sorry, I cannot buy, the only thing we say is thank you to them, and then we move on. Instead of that, try to plug like this small hack, and even angel investors. A lot of us, spend so much time saying, become my angel investor, become my angel investor. They become angel investor. After that, you don't even use them. I mean, it's a fact. I'm really telling you. But you need to basically prime them. You need to tell them, hey, Vijay, I'm building this security. When you're when you're talking to someone about security logs management, remember us, right? Or if you're on a panel, you're positioning about old security versus new security, just plug. I mean, that's what I tell, a bunch of CIOs, when you're on a panel, sometimes people say, hey, we like you and how can I help? I say, when you're on a panel, say 20 years ago, when we managed IT, we used X, but today, when we are managing IT, we need to look at Y, that Y is Atomicwork, right? So you need to give them some points. Otherwise, see, they have their own life. Right? They will not be learning about your product, how to position it, so also leverage your angels, network. And as a founder, it's okay to shit post on LinkedIn, by the way, yeah.
Hi, Vijay sir. Thanks a lot for this insightful session. My question is, as a early stage founder who's going from 0 to 1, how important are small leads? Should a founder even invest small percentage of his time converting them, or his focus should very specifically be on converting mid to big size deals?
No, I think it's a great question. See, it depends on what kind of product you are building, etc. But look, the thing, I think the conflicting thing as founders we deal with is the only thing we have is time. The only thing we should really protect is our time. Okay. So if you waste your time, then you are doing a disservice to your company, especially as a founder CEO. Okay. If you're wasting your time, you're literally doing a disservice. Okay. To your company, right? So your time really matters, right? But at the same time, let's say, are you in an exploration mode with the product? Are you in a enhancing mode with the product? Or are you in an exploitation mode with the product, right? So what I meant by that is if you're in exploration mode with product, okay, so you have still not built, it does not matter whether they're tiny, big, just understand the problem, right? See, from prospects, what we need to understand is their problem, not the solution that they can say, I want solution like this, whatever, you can listen, but I think pay a lot of attention to the problem, intensity of the problem, etc. Let's say you have product, you have some product, and you have like 1-2 customers. Now you need to enhance that product. Then, I think reduce the focus a little bit. Initially, you could be like this, then you come down a little bit more focus. But if you're in exploitation mode, in the sense, you got like a dozens of customers, okay, you want to sell at 10K or 100K or 30K, then you should be very, very protective of your time, right? Then if you're acting like an exploration mode, then you are doing a disservice to your company, your investors, your stakeholders, and more than anyone else, yourself, right? Our time is very precious, right? So should I focus or not depends on this stage and what segment you're selling and what stage you are in, right? So most of us 0 to 1 is mostly like exploration mode, right? 1 to 5 is like enhancing kind of a mode. Then 5 onwards is like, you want to exploit, right? When I say exploit in a positive way, not in a negative way, you want to exploit the opportunity, that is there for you, for that segment.
Hi Vijay, thanks for being candid. Yeah, but I think what really struck me very, very interestingly was your authenticity and you being candid about your own perceptions. So that was very wonderful insights. You mentioned LinkedIn a few times, obviously, because B2B and so on. So my question very specifically is twofold. One is, have you had or your team has had experience with LinkedIn Sales Navigator, number one? We all know the benefits of premium. And secondly, Microsoft has this app source and a cloud partner program. And I believe even Amazon and Google have something similar for a B2B marketplace. Have you had any experience with any of these?
See, marketplaces are wonderful for B2B when you have some brand and there is some pull in the market. If there is no pull in the market, then marketplaces will not, work, right? So initially, look, here is a hard truth, right? In B2B SaaS, it's a push. If there is a pull, then you should be thanking the God, not yourself, okay? That you found that really, magical opportunity, right? I think LinkedIn Premium is a basic thing I would encourage every founder to get. The next thing you should get is a Sales Navigator. Don't use this AI tools to spam people, etc. I think, see, in exploration mode, spamming is a terrible idea, right? When you spam, you're not learning anything. You're automating. Automation is not a learning, right? Automation is about efficiency, right? Learning is about experience. So initially, you should focus on learning. And once you have a good experience, then you try some, ways to automate, etc. I do, like, for example, I send connect to people with the same thing, right? Hey, I read your bite in Financial Times. For example, I want to connect with the CIO of Goldman Sachs, right? And I've been trying to connect with this guy for some time. And if you tell him, hey, I loved your bite, he launched some Gen AI assistant yesterday. There was like quite a bit of news. Previously I dropped a note yesterday, then I had to drop second one, right? So then you can't drop, first time if you already connected. So then you can use Sales Navigator. But you also have to remember Sales Navigator sends everything to other now. It does not send it to the main inbox. Okay, so the value of it has diminished a little bit, but I think you have to have a really, really good pitch, but it's a useful tool. Do we use it? Yes, we use it. And marketplaces, I think you need to list for SEO value. some brand visibility and credibility, but can they really drive business for you? They rarely drive business if you have not built brand. There is no pull in the market for you, right? But second thing I'll tell you, this is a big lesson I learned in Minjar was, we can go meet the CEO of a company, take a picture with him and feel good about it. He will say, hey, we want to partner with you, we will help you. End of the day, the seller is the seller on the other side. So top down you should use for brand visibility, bottom up you should use for sales. That's the thing I learned at Minjar was, it does not matter what country head thinks, what CTO of AWS thinks, or CEO of AWS think, right? They can think all good things, but they're not calling individual sellers and saying, go sell Vijay software, right? They will not do it, right? Because they have their own things. But you need to meet sellers and say, hey, my software helps you retain customer, because if the cloud spend goes high, then they're thinking, oh my God, I can't use cloud, it's going uncontrolled. If there is a security breach, they'll be worried about. If they can't back up things and do automation, they'll be worried about. So if you plug, Minjar product Botmetric, then it will help you, right? Do objection handling, etc. So bottom up relationships are very important. Even I'll tell you recently, in this quarter earnings, Satya Nadella mentioned, he's so kind, mentioned about Atomicwork in his earnings call. The CRO wrote a blog post, where he mentioned Atomicwork. The CMO gave a big shout out on LinkedIn, Judson wrote the blog post, then Alisa gave a big shout out. Zero sales happened, Look, the reason why I basically say is, people are not looking at, some big guy mentioned, so I'll just go buy product, right? They will not. But did it help create a brand visibility? Yes. Okay. And they have been very kind. It's not like we did any growth hack and primed them to drop. Nothing. It's like we were working with people at mid-level, etc. Right? And they ask, hey, who are the companies doing innovative work? Right? And then they pick some, there is a lot of luck and whatnot. But you need to work with the field teams. If you want to succeed with big vendors, focus on field teams. If you want to do partner integration, you want to do business partnerships, focus on top people, right? But business partnerships are more or less PR, okay? The real business will only happen when you meet field people, okay? And meet the field people on other side. Get to those field people as quickly as you can, and find just 4 or 5 of them and turn them into champions, and then other people will do. One thing that really helped us at Minjar was AWS salespeople were such a good people. That time they were also a small company. Now they're a very massive company. I think a lot of our business came through them. A lot of our business.
I'm Rahul. Just very quick context. We are a 6.5-year-old company. Started off as a services company, around a couple of million in revenue. Launched our product. We have a couple of customers. Very early stage. I just got my L1 visa approved.
That's amazing.
Hopefully in the next 2 months or so, I'll be going to the US, right? So very focused question. How should I think about events and reach out through LinkedIn versus directly going to customers versus finding some smaller potential partners who can take us to more customers? So just good to get that view.
So I would highly encourage everyone to read this book called Culture Map, okay, written by this author, I think Mayo. It's a great book that actually explains about differences between high context cultures and low context cultures, the good and bad, how should you navigate. That's why it's called Culture Map. It's a great book to read. Events, now there are a lot of things on the Bay. There is this beautiful site called Cerebral Valley, which brings together all the events that happen in the Bay. You almost can do free lunch and free dinner if you just attend the events, right? And then the standard websites are there for events and stuff, but be very, very focused, right? One of the things what I have seen is people think, okay, I want to attend events. If you're building a DevOps product, you're better off attending all DevOps related events than attending some AI event, some security event, some other event, right? Because your time also should matter. And second is when you attend, go network with people, right? They could be attendees or, whatever. I think if you, focus on one region. One of the mistakes we make when we go to US, which even I did, during Minjar was, US is a very big country, okay, massive country, okay. The East Coast to West Coast could take 8-9 hours also for the flight, right? within US, narrow down one city and one region or one cluster. Concentrate your marketing, your outreach, your events, your networking first there, right? Otherwise, what happens is if you do one deal in Chicago, one deal in Jersey City, one deal in Seattle, one deal in Austin, you are not building leverage, right? Then your marketing team will be doing random things here, random things there, random things here. So depending on whichever segment you are targeting, for all the 50 plus states, if you take out few, you pick like 3-4 places that you really, really want to go win first. It could be, hey, let me focus on Bay, let me focus on Central, or let me focus on South, or let me go to East. Within East, I'll just focus on Jersey City and Philly and maybe Chicago for now. I think that's very important. Then you will have a concentrated attack, from your standpoint. Otherwise, we will have a very diffused energy, So the only thing I would basically say is don't run around in the US because you will get exhausted eventually, right? Focus on one region and try to win and build some credibility. Then say, okay, what's the adjacent region? Then adjacent region, right? And then be opportunistic to go to other regions. In the early days, don't think US is a small market. India is very small. Delhi to Bangalore is only 2.5 hours, right? But Bay to Washington is like pretty far.
Hi, Vijay, this is Ishita. I wanted to understand from you that, especially for early stage founders, what are some of the partnerships they can build to enable global sales?
So I think it's a great question. So a lot of us think about partnerships like technology partnerships, right? I'm building on AWS, I'll build a partnership with AWS. AWS benefits, you won't benefit anything from it, okay? But let's say, I'll share my story, but I'm just trying to think of an example, right? Let's say you're building some financial analysis and reporting tool, okay? Then you're better off building partnership with NetSuite, with Intuit, and whoever are the players in that market than building partnership with Google Cloud or AWS or Azure. Let's say you're building a developer tooling company. Then it makes sense to build with AWS, right? Because developers are there, that mind share is there, etc. So we are building for IT teams, okay? There is this legacy IT, which is, IBM, Cisco, HP, Dell. Then there is this very modern IT, which is Google, Rippling, Notion, Botion, like there are like 10,000 applications. Then there is this business IT, right, which is dominated by Microsoft, okay? So we said, even though we are building our technology on AWS, etc., supporting that Microsoft ecosystem is very key for our product, okay? What I meant is integrate with AD, integrate with Office 365, Intune, Power Automate, SharePoint, Dynamics, that ecosystem of products that they have. I think that can potentially become a good partnership for you because then you can say, hey, I will only filter customers who have Microsoft. That's my first filter, right? My second filter. First filter could be whatever, commercial enterprise. Second filter is, okay, in Microsoft. Third filter is, are they growth customer? Fourth filter is, are they hiring IT people? And the fifth filter is, do we know when they bought last time software like this, right? If they just bought a year ago, then don't waste your time because nobody wants to change. But if they bought 4 or 5 years ago, I'm sure they will forget all the good things. They only remember the bad things of the software, right? That's a human tendency. So I think that's how you layer and then say, hey, we work really well with Microsoft customers. Then when you meet Microsoft teams, you tell them, hey, I'm not like another startup which is just using Azure. We deeply integrate with your ecosystem. A lot of your customers struggle to manage the complexity of applications, their configurations, etc. And we streamline and automate that. Pitch the story. That's how you should think of building. And I'll also tell you, look, we are all tiny companies, right? Even with 100 people, we are like a tiny drop, for an ocean of Microsoft. So you can't actually build partnership with a Microsoft, okay? That's a pitch. The practice is you find the product team of AD, product team of Intune, product team of a SharePoint. Try to engage with that. Okay. See, they have an incentive to engage with you versus Microsoft has no incentive to engage with every startup. Right. That's a reality. We have to. So I think find leverage points like that. To really seed and then invest in one. and think deeply, before you go commit time, etc. To say, is there a need? And Reddit is a great way to learn which segment of customers are really frustrated, right? Because this is almost like a frustrated people site. So they actually share all the problems. I think to learn problems, Reddit is amazing. Even now also I hang out so much to mostly learn what is frustrating IT people. Like, what is like really disappointing them, why they want to change career, why they don't like vendors. They share everything. They share how they are pricing, how they are arm twisting, which software works, which software does not work. For your category, I would also encourage you to, focus on there, from a problem learning perspective. But partnerships, I think, if you get a partnership that's working, then thank the God, not yourself. It's very hard in the early stages, right? Because partnerships are for big companies. For a small company, we are doing a favor by putting our infrastructure on their cloud, right? And they do help. AWS did help, but in the very early days. I mean, I used to work with AWS from 2009 when I was doing one startup that didn't go anywhere. And they did not even have any teams in India in 2012. They started hiring, early people. If you're very early, like right now, OpenAI, Anthropic are very early. If you build a partnership with them, that's a leverage, right? But AWS is a $100 billion company. They will not have time for most companies right now, unless you're a breakout company.
Hey, hi Vijay. So just wanted to ask for something.
Are we doing on time? Do we? Okay.
Wanted to ask something on the PMF part, like finding PMF. So sales in a very early stage, like exploration part, is like a very thin line between finding the PMF. So like how did you found the PMF for your company Atomicworks? And do you have any other suggestions to find PMF while doing sales apart from the design partner part?
Yeah. I think don't be very hang up on PMF definition. It's not like you have 10 customers, million. That means you have found a product market fit, 100 customers, 5 million. Those things don't matter. I think the way I basically at least think about your product usage and support ticket. If you're getting a lot of support tickets, okay, it's actually good. People are using and they're finding problems and stuff. Then you say, hey, let me go make these areas of the product better. I think initially focus a lot on usage. If there is a lot of usage, right, then you say, okay, which is okay. The way to basically think about is in Minjar as well. We had like a whole bunch of customers, but I think we found this e-commerce customers type, right? Retail e-commerce customers to be using the product insanely, right? So if you have like hundreds of them, then you say, okay, who is using the most? Who is raising most of the support tickets? Who is making a lot of feature requests? So that's maybe a great segment for you. Instead of trying to sell to one retail, one media, one telecommunication, first go get like 500 retail companies, right? I know that's a great way to get to a better PMF than, spread thin. So in initial days, I'll focus more on usage, where the usage is high, where the adoption is high, and where then the third variable is their willingness to pay, right? And these days, PMF is mostly become like a moving target, right? For the first million, PMF definition is one. The 100 million PMF definition is something else. For $1 billion, the PMF definition is different, right? Because eventually you have to shift markets, segments and stuff. But focus on usage a lot, okay? And if you have even 100 people using, in that 100, can you find 3-4 cohorts, right? Is there a cohort which is outlier, right? That could be whatever. You think it should be used by architect, but developer is using, and yeah. So usage is a really, really good way to actually think about which segment to narrow down to, and what you can do for that segment to increase the usage further, right? So a lot of times we don't double click on it. I would encourage you folks to double click on it. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Vijay, for being here. My name is Kirti, founder of Click, offering 24/7 AI-based monitoring. We are trying to create a market which does not exist, both the product and service. Would like to get your thoughts on how to distribute the time between B2B and B2C.
You said it's a monitoring product? Okay. This is for like service monitoring or?
Behavior and monitoring of the elders in their home.
In their homes. Yeah. So, yeah. No, I think I hear you. I think so. So there are like a bunch of companies, right? Especially like worldwide. US has a lot of senior living communities. Okay. But more than US, I think Australia has a lot of healthcare companies who take care of elders. Because a lot of elders have, uh, you know, memory loss and they don't remember when to take medicine. There are companies like Calvary Healthcare and a whole bunch of them. Who have field workforce who go monitor, make sure they took the medicines, they give them the shots. Like they do like quite a bit of that activity. I would first like try to work with 1-2 of them as a design partners to basically say, keep elders safe, right? Instead of saying we are monitoring elders, right? Nobody says, right? If there is any emergency, get to know instantly. I think I would actually put a lot of positive spin. The moment you say behavioral monitoring, people think that's like little bit negative side of it. So I think framing is one. Second is for whatever reason, I don't know, Australia, I found lot of this elderly care companies, okay, to give medicines, to do home checks, to do safety checks, to take them, for their every month, sugar, uh, glucose monitoring, at the lab or dialysis, etc. I would actually, try to work with those kind of a people. The second thing I would basically say is senior living communities, because they're already promised that we take care of people, etc. So instead of selling to the elderly people directly, you sell to the service provider who is doing. That's probably other thing that comes to top of the mind to me. But I'm not an expert in that area, honestly. Yeah.